What is going on YouTube? Dr. Wade here. And the I'm just gonna say this here. The struggle with a lot of the videos I've been making is I'm torn between giving you information that and would include if you were playing the game, for years and you had access to way more commanders, right, than you currently see here. There's way more commanders that come out later. But the other part is that I'm mainly doing this for my alliance, so I want to give them the most relevant information for them. And yes, a year later, right, that information that I will give to you is relevant. But for example, Richard is a lot different now than he will be a year from now. It's just facts. He's just so dominant right now compared to once they come out with all these anti-healers. So a lot of the problem with making commander guides, I'm giving you the context. The problem with making commander guides for me is, do I give you what's good right now, or do I give you like the whole overall thing? And I could do both, but then that makes each video take so much longer, and then you're less likely to get the information that you need because you have to really want to get the info and sit here and watch my long ass videos. Because I'm not gonna lie, like I talk my ass off, right? But the information is there. You just have to be willing to sit there and watch it. So without a further ado, this is my first guide, and I want to start with I wouldn't call him my favorite epic. He's probably my second favorite epic, but he's definitely my favorite infantry epic for sure. And that's Sun Tzu. This guy is all about Sun Tzu. And what I want to do, I want to talk about his skills. I want to talk about his strengths, his drawbacks. As it really relates to KVK 1 primarily, and also 2. And then I also want to talk about I said the pairs, right? So the skills, the pairs, the strengths and drawbacks. And then I want to put my 2 cents in at the end, right? Like what I think, right? That'll give you way more insight. Because here's the thing, I want to be realistic. And Sun Tzu, it doesn't mean as much, but I want to be realistic in the videos as well. So like when I start talking about Richard, right? Some people it ain't even worth you going past 5511, maybe 5551 on the Richard. And it all depends, a lot of things depend upon what you want to do with your account, the progression you're trying to make, the way that you spend, and what the fuck you want to do, right? And how many margins that you ultimately want to have on the field. All of that shit is relevant. So when people ask for advice is on commanders, it's just so tough because you gotta, it's like having a financial advisor. You need the financial advisor that just works with you, right? You just do, right? So that is it's just so tough. It's just so tough. I'm gonna try to do my best on this one. Here it is, Sun Tzu, best epic in the game. He does AoE damage, and without the expertise, you hit 3 targets. It does damage factor. You gain rage for each target you hit. Okay, we honestly, if you don't have the epic that you're using expertise, don't even really bring an epic on. Most epics I wouldn't even bring out to the field unless they're expertise. In fact, again, I'm following my own rule. This is the only epic that I bring to the field. Like I might bring Joan of Arc, maybe once, but she's pretty close. But honestly, the expertise is so important. It's not what the video is about. That's just advice, right? They have to be expertise, so that's how I'm coming at this video. So you can hit up to 5 targets, right? Which is kind of hard to do. Realistically speaking, you're going to hit anywhere from like 1 to 3 targets. So you might get anywhere from 50 to 150 rage. That's still really good. It's 1,000 damage factor if you total it up. It's a solid nuke. And then with the addition of gaining rage, there's nukes that hit for 1,000, and won't give you as much utility as 150 rage. I mean, it's facts, right? That's a lot of damage factor. Now, his second ability is when leading the garrison of your own city, you take 7% less damage. That's the important part, your own city. So this actually doesn't work when we're talking about flag defense. It has to be of your own city, right? So in your city, like he's great on the city wall for that reason, right? 7% damage reduction is pretty legit. It just sucks. I wish this was just any garrison, not just the city garrison, but they can't make them too strong. And then this next one, you just get flat out, damage reduction, damage taken reduced by. It's the same thing as damage reduction. 10% damage, additional damage reduction. If you're in your city at 17 cool percent. And then you got a little infantry flare. He is an infantry commander. You get the 10% health bonus. Health is the best stat to increase. I'm not even going to argue. This is a very good skill. And then like what this allows you to do is like you don't care about infantry as much, so it makes them a little bit more versatile. But if you do bring the infantry, that really does make the overall march a whole lot more tanky. If you combine that with the talent trees, it's really, really good. Okay, and then you get a 20% increased skill damage. Right now, it turns out it's not exactly 20%. It's probably more effectively a smaller percent, but increased skill damage. And it's a lot of synergy if the person that you're commanding your pairing can with also does skill damage. Right, so his skills are more or less straightforward, minus a lot of people are confused about, their skill is just if you're in your city, 7% more damage reduction. As far as like, and I didn't say I would talk about roles, but as far as roles, you really got two options. Either he's going to be in your city, or he's going to be in on the open field. And I'll also say like, there aren't a whole bunch of options at this point for defending, flags. So yeah, he's good for that too. And I think he's okay for that in general, but as the game goes on, there are going to be better options, right? But for right now, like if you had a level 60 Sun Tzu with a richer than a flag, I'm not going to grill you for that, right? I would say that's okay. Now I want to talk. I'm not even going to do talent builds because that's a whole nother beast, right? To the video, that's a whole nother beast that I don't want to get into. I just won't do it. It'll make the video too long. I just won't do it. So now let's talk about him and some of his strengths and drawbacks. So one thing is that for Epic, he's tanky as hell by Epic standards, right? I like that. He really does work very well on your wall as a primary or secondary, so he can fulfill two roles very quickly. Having an open field march, and if you're using him primary in the open field and he's secondary on the wall, or if you run him primary on the wall, right, he could be secondary for the open field, right? And quite honestly, that doesn't have to be in the open field all infantry if he is the secondary, right? And even if even if you wanted to run all him primary and you didn't bring out infantry, I think that's okay too. But I would really want the march speed, because that's a part of the drawbacks, is that infantry is really, really slow, and in the open field you really do want some march speed. He does have the AoE for the open field, which is another strength, and he will do damage. Don't get me wrong, like 20% here, skill damage, and this nuke, and then he regenerates rage. He does fire off skills very well. There's AoE damage. He can hit 5 targets. It's fine. Like he has the damage, he has his tank, but the speed, man. The speed is really, really rough, right? And that's why when you run up open field, I'm not going to talk about builds, but I have to with this because this helps with the drawback. So you really need to be taking advantage of the march speed over here, here, and here, right? So 6% there, 6% here, 6% right there. That's a total of 18% march speed, and it makes a world of fucking difference, right? Don't even look at my build. I don't want you saying, Dockerized running this, I'm running it. Like, fuck my build, right? It's a good build, I think. Fuck the build. The important part, if you don't get nothing else, is you want march speed. And this requires you to bring all infantry. I just want to add that to it. This is just infantry march speed. The defense, not the defense, the garrison and skill tree don't have a lot of march speed. I think you get a little bit of march speed right here, and I don't think it's anywhere else. I think there's a little bit of march speed right here, and there ain't nowhere else. This is all you fucking really can get, realistically speaking. Right? The best march speed you can get, so that requires full infantry. So, you know, with the Sun Tzu, I highly recommend him. 100%. He's a little slow, but he checks all the other boxes. He's very versatile. He does a fair bit of damage. He counts as a rage engine, especially in big open field brawls. He has some tanks, so you don't get shredded. I would have to say that I don't care what civilization that you go. I don't care what you're going to be doing with your account. You should expertise Sun Tzu first, second, or third. Guaranteed. If you don't, I would be confused at either A, you're supposed to be using them in the open field, or two, like, put them on your wall. Like, I would be confused if you didn't, especially for someone that's free to play, because, like, on your wall, you're not gonna, probably have Martel in a good spot, which is also good for your wall. Right? And I don't want to make the video too long, but I think that sums up Sun Tzu in a nutshell. Right? You can see what I did with my account, and I went China first, so I could get them a lot faster. A lot of sculptures, like I say, went into here and here. This is me adding my fucking 2 cents, right? When towards Boudica and Joan right now, I'm exclusively working on Joan because I just really want that expertise. Just really want the expertise. I think I like Sun Tzu a lot. Let's talk about pairing. Okay, this is where it's gonna get weird. I'm gonna talk about if you were more of a professional, right? These are the best of the best things to pair with. I even wrote some down because this is super legit what I did, right? I think the best pair that you can really do in the early game with Sun Tzu, and this is contingent upon you really caring about this pairing, but you could run Charles Martel with the Sun Tzu. There's tons of synergy. The fact that you can use the defense tree, which is a really good tree, and then the infantry tree, another really good tree, right? He's not gonna be expertise at this point, so I can't really say he'll speed. He can, you can really speed your Sun Tzu up, but that would be there later in the game, right? Like, I'm being realistic. Like, that's not gonna happen. You see where I have him at. The expertise ain't gonna, unless I was gonna go all in with the scope. No, I'm not doing that, right? He's a gold key commander. He gives a whole hell of a lot more stats. I could see a whale or somebody that's medium spending or just wants to invest a few sculptures. I can see the 5511, right? You make your Sun Tzu way tankier. You give him more stacks. You're a little bit more pokier when you are getting focused by multiple people, and you do a lot more damage because of the damage boost. Now Martel doesn't have skill damage on his own, but that's okay. The idea is 100% there, and this pairing is realistic for somebody that's spending more money on the game, in my opinion, because like you can have your Martel in an okay spot, at least the 5111, right? I'm close to that. And then it really is hard to have a whole bunch of commanders legendary, to a high level. So I think a mix of the legendary with the epic is good. Whichever one you want first. Like I'm okay. Like one primary legendary level 60. Okay, I can see that in the early game, or two if you really hoofing it, right? One that can get to 60 because that's a lot of stars, right? The stars are gonna bottleneck you. And then right, you got the Sun Tzu as the primary or secondary, right? And you can get them both to 60. And then with that specific combination, one can have a garrison build right on them, and then you run that as the primary, and the other one can have the open field build, and then you run that as the primary. Amen. Great pairing, right? And they work well together with your city defense and the full infantry march. Next pairing, and I think this is a more free-to-play friendly pairing, is this new guy, Ironside. He does AoE damage as well. Good. I think only with the expertise. So you really have to expertise him, right? But you'll get a skill damage taken increase, and that's just not your skill damage. That's everybody's skill damage that hits that target. Whereas the debuff. The damage factor is a little small. It gets better once you expertise, but that's okay. And then the skill damage taken gets better, right? You can run this with Sun Tzu. It's just a great match, right? You bring all infantry, you get solid stat boost, and then you get an additional direct damage factor that can trigger. And that gets augmented by Sun Tzu skill damage boost. It's a good high damage march with a little bit of tankiness on top of it having a really cool utility that makes that march can get deleted if enough people are on comms, for example, say, oh, focus this character right now. That person's gone if there's any type of good skill damage on the field, which it is. Mina Sao to Isong Ye, all that bullshit. Yeah, that march is done. Great pairing. Best epic infantry pairing in the game. I know it ain't very many, but like all epic, that's it. That is 100% the move, right? So now I want to talk about another thing. So if you were like a low spender, you theoretically could have Richard. A lot of people have Richard. A lot of people like Richard. I think a little bit too much, in my opinion. But Richard is a great pairing too, and there isn't a lot of synergy in terms of, with the skill damage and stuff like that. But he does care about infantry. You become way, way, way more tanky, right? Richard's even, in my opinion, is tankier than Martel for sure, 100%. He has a lot of utility, and then see the thing is that Martel is gold key, and then Richard isn't. So getting your Richard in a good spot, it honestly, like, the wheel is coming up in like literally 45 minutes. My Richard's gonna be 5-1-1-1, right? So it looks like my Martel is better right now. But like in 3 weeks, like there's no contest, right? My Richard's going to be in a way, way better spot. So I think for a lot of people, right, especially earlier, the Richard seems a lot more compelling just because you can get him a lot faster. And even though I don't think it's as good of a pairing, because I feel like you just need a little bit more damage, just a little bit more damage. But here's the thing: if you weren't really concerned about doing damage that much, and you're just concerned about bringing a march on the field, then that can either reinforce a rally, help defend the flag, right? The debuff is relevant, especially if you're a smaller character, a smaller account, smaller player, lower power player, not really spending money. Your job isn't going to be to do a lot of damage. I like this pairing a lot because of that, right? Because this doesn't matter about damage. And then essentially, if you run him primary, right, Richard primary, right, this is really just a rage engine. This is just a rage engine. This is just a rage engine, so you can fire off the active skill more, so you can stay there longer, and you can give that 30% damage debuff to people. That shit ain't nothing to fuck around with. And I also want to add the march speed reduction, which is a little less relevant. I wish it was more than 15%, but like, again, you can't make these characters too busted. And he does get more of your expertise, but we ain't gonna talk about that because that ain't realistic. All right, this is early game. Another pairing that you could do. Those are like the best pairings like that I just mentioned. Those are the top three in a specific order. I wouldn't give them a specific order because they all have like their benefits and drawbacks. The Bjorn, Sun Tzu, that's more damage, some cool damage utility, but ultimately squishier than the other two combos, right? With the legendaries because they're just flat out just tankier. The Martel is a nice blend of the damage and the tank, and that's why I like it. It's the damage and the tank, right? And then the Richard Sun Tzu is while Sun Tzu's still gonna do some damage, it's more of a tankier, sustained, more so for the debuff rage engine march than it is about like a good balance or more on the damage end. But that's okay. They all have. I can't sit here and say, oh, this is the best because it would depend on what type of player you are. Martel, Sun Tzu would seem more like the whale march to me in the early game. I would be scared of that player because that looks whale to me, right? That looks like somebody's trying to do damage, trying to stay on the field, trying to fuck some shit up. If I see a Bjorn, Sun Tzu, I'm gonna think, a little bit of tank, but I can focus that, right? The Ironside. I see Richard, Sun Tzu, I ain't even gonna fight that march. It's too tanky. I'll fight something else, right? But I'm running away from the Martel and I'm fucking up the Ironside. Some pairings that I don't think are as good, but you can make them work because ultimately it's about what you got, right? Like what can you use right now, or maybe you got these command. Like obviously I have Ethelflat in a halfway decent spot. Like Ethelflat first with Sun Tzu would generate just hella rage, right? Hella rage. With the support tree, and both of them do AOE. Can actually slow down marches quite a bit. If you run a primary also, you could theoretically slow them down even more with this, right? And that has some synergy with her expertise once you get that far. That's not relevant now. I like that pairing, and then like if you didn't have a full march of infantry, that makes a lot of sense. The Ethelflat as a primary, that makes tons of sense, right? If you had mixed troops. And then like you're still gonna get some march speed. It's not the same, but it's some. Sportry has some march speed. If that's because everybody has Ethelflat, right? If that's what you got, then that's what you fucking have, right? And then I want to talk about a pairing that on paper it seems pretty good to me, but I can't recommend it. But I just want to talk about it because it's just me being me. The Sun Tzu with Osman. Now, it's mainly about Sword of Osman, like, and how much, oh my god, how much damage factor you do. This single target, it wouldn't be as good for the open field, but if you're like focusing on a march and you do have a rage engine, like, I think that's a good way to get your Osman in the game, and then, you got 10% troop capacity bonus. That's crazy. But I think the better play with Osman is putting him with like Pelagius, running all Pelagius primary and Osman all calves. I think that's better. But I just want to say that Sun Tzu seems noteworthy too. And you are still bringing some AOE to the open field, and then like a fair bit amount of more troops, and the elevated skill damage too is a plus of that one. But I think it's something that you could do. But like, are you really investing in Osman? Probably not. Again, one thing I want to also mention is that you could always pair Sun Tzu with any support person. So like Sun Tzu Joan just for buffs is fine. Sun Tzu Mulan just for buffs. Where's Mulan? It's fine too. Especially with the Mulan, because you get some march speed a little bit at a time. You kind of like, I don't know. I haven't tested it, but I might actually like that. I'm waiting to get her up a little bit more, and I'll try that. I don't know how I would do it. Am I gonna go all the way with her? I haven't even looked. Secondary causes. Yeah, I'm gonna take her like literally all the way. Probably. Yeah, we'll see. Mulan's coming up. I'm waiting. Mulan's coming up pretty soon. Think Jones better because you can get her. Whatever. Okay, those are the pairings. Like you can make some support march. He's so versatile. You can. I just told you support marches, all infantry marches. I would like to talk. I was supposed to talk about Uji, but like like that's better. All epic. 100% for the open field. This is better. No question. And you know I like Uji, but he looks cool. But no, Ironside just that all epic, the only all epic infantry pairing. It's definitely Ironside primary with the Sun Tzu. That shit's legit. First one down, a whole bunch more commanders to go. See you in the next video.